one question to ask. There were refugee camps for Kashmiri Pandits because they were forced to take up shelter in some place. What examples is he able to show to specifically point out that those people who opposed terrorism were also forced into refugee camps? The fact of the matter is this: the property of Kashmiri Hindus was completely occupied by their neighbors, and effectively the rest of the fight was only between the community members who were remaining in that particular state. As far as Kashmiri Hindus were concerned, they were a thorn in the flesh who had to be removed, and whatever is happening at this particular point of time is within a particular community. So therefore, this comparison is completely flawed.
Sir,
if he wants
let him
to
finish.
talk numbers,
Let him finish. Let him finish. Let him finish.
Maybe
if he really wants
Let
to
him
talk
finish.
numbers,
Let him finish.
That is the law.
Let him finish.
You go and take.
Let him finish. Okay, I'm counting till 3, and we're going to lower your fader. 1, 2, 3. Lower his fader. If he's not going to behave, if he's going to terrorize us here on this panel by shouting, we will lower his fader. It's not acceptable. Sai Deepak, finish your point, please.
just one point. I think if his entire point is to compare or trade bodies, the one thing that he completely misses is that Kashmiri Hindus were kicked out in the name of a particular religion because of their particular religion, because they wanted to establish Nizam-e-Mustafa. Therefore, you can't evade this particular point by simply saying we too have lost lives. The point is, you have not lost lives because you were Hindus. You lost lives because at the end of the day, you were seen as impediments by the terrorists. But as far as Hindus were concerned, they were kicked out for being Hindus. That is the central point that nobody wants to talk about. So this comparison on the basis of numbers completely misses the ethnic nature and the religious nature of this genocide that was committed. So let's be clear about this. Nobody was asking for a secular Republic of Kashmir. They were asking for Nizam-e-Mustafa. It has its own connotations which are religious in nature. This cannot be refuted. This is the fact that they're trying to obfuscate completely on the basis of numbers that have been lost. Please do not deny the fact that this may have been political, but that's secondary. This may have been economic, that may be secondary, but this was primarily religious. And that has been the case for several centuries.
Mr. Deepak wants to come in. Sai Deepak.
Assume for a moment that the logic that is presented by Mr. Lone is accepted. I just have one question to ask. How many Muslim families have completely left Kashmir and have become internally displaced citizens at par with the Hindus?
Let him finish.
I have to be allowed to finish my point, please. Second, every time there is a riot in any other part of the country, every state government, whether it's a minority or majority, or particularly if it happens to be a minority, makes an extra effort to ensure that nobody is permanently displaced, whether it's Gujarat or Maharashtra or any other place for that matter. What efforts have been taken by successive state governments of this particular state to ensure that Kashmiris are able to come back, or Kashmiri Pandits are able to come back? That is an answer. That's a question that they have to answer. Second, I'm sorry, this entire comparison is flawed. One particular community is pushed out by another community, and the remaining community chooses to pit itself against the Indian state and the Indian army.
Let him speak. Let him speak.
Kashmiri Muslims, they migrated
Mr. Lone, I'll tell you who migrated. Mirwaiz Umar Farooq's family. Exactly. Let me tell you. I have more. Sayyid Ali Shah Gilani's son.
Where have they migrated to?
To Pakistan.
To become a doctor.
Migrated to earn a living for himself.
United States, London, these are the places.
Some have gone to Australia. This is a fact.
This is a fact.
The people who lit the the people who lit the fires. 1 minute, sir. Are you going to shout? Listen. You look. I can start shouting and I have a much louder voice than you, sir. Do not.
Why don't you ask the present dispensation?
No. 1 second. We will come to that. But I asked you. You see, viewers, Mr. Lone, I'll have to lower your fader. Please don't do this.
Carry on.
Don't do this.
Okay, sir. Carry on.
You are now a counselor, okay? You swear allegiance to the Indian Constitution. So please. Now let me just tell you,
I don't think he appreciates that. He regrets that.
Yeah. Let Jai say.